Hello and welcome, everybody. I will just hold on a few more seconds as more people come online. So hello and welcome to Stay Resilient and Motivated After Setbacks and Failures. And whilst we're waiting for more people to come online, do let me know which part of the world you're joining from today. Just type in the comments which part of the world that you're joining from today. And so when we face failures or setbacks, oh, hello from Chicago. It's great to have you here. So when we face setbacks and failures, it can be hard to pick ourselves back up and continue moving forward. And you may find that you've lost motivation or that you haven't got that get up and go that you had previously. Hello from Nigeria and New York. Great to have you here. But how you respond to setbacks and failures will determine how well or not you get through it. And today I'm going to be sharing some tips to help you develop resilience and to stay motivated and confident during setbacks and failures. Oh, we've got such a diverse geographical locations online. We have Chicago, Nigeria, New York, Mauritius. Great to have you here. And so for those of you that don't know me, I'm Carol Stewart. I'm an executive career leadership coach, founder of Bounding Solutions, and author of the book Quietly Visible, Leading with Influence and Impact as an Introverted Woman. And I specialize in coaching introverted women who are senior leaders. And I coach all leaders to lead with confidence, influence, and impact. And I also work with organizations and provide a range of workshops, webinars, and talks to help them develop their leaders and to help them develop their talent as well. So great to have so many locations online. Hi, Katrina. Hello from London. So what I'm going to be covering is I'm going to be looking at how acknowledging that adversity is a part of life, accepting your situation, because that is so important that you accept where you're at. And I'm going to be covering how you can allow yourself to be curious about possibilities. And so that by the end of today's session, you will have some ideas about what you can do to respond when you receive a failure or a setback and how you can confidently move forward. Now, I want to add a disclaimer here that if you are going through an adverse situation, you've had a setback or a knockback that has really knocked you and you're feeling depressed as a result of it, or you just find that you just cannot, no matter how you try, get focused and motivated on moving forward, then you may need to seek professional help. That's beyond the scope of this session here. This session is for people who've had a knockback, had setbacks, had failures, maybe low in resilience, but they are acknowledging that with the right support that they can move forward. So if we look at acknowledging adversity, and setbacks, adversity is a universal aspect of life. It's something that we all will face. None of us go through life without experiencing any kind of setbacks or failures. And it's about understanding and accepting that this is a part of life and looking at it as a way of growing from adversity, and that when we go through certain obstacles and challenges, it contributes to our personal growth. And I don't even like to use the word failure. I rather use it as lessons learned, because there are so many lessons that we can learn when we go through adversity, when we face a setback, when we face a knockback, when we face rejection. There are so many lessons that we can learn about ourselves, about others, about the world in general. And so going through these obstacles and challenges enable us to grow, enable us to develop our resilience, enable us to develop wisdom as well, because it gives us a broader perspective on things. So rather than looking at it as a failure, what are the lessons that you can learn from this? So thinking about situations that you've been through or what you may currently be going through, rather than looking at it as, oh, I failed, I've been rejected, this has happened to me again, or whatever it is, look at it as these obstacles as contributing to your personal growth. And then the next thing I want to talk about is accepting your situation, because acceptance is a powerful tool for resilience. And once we can accept our situation for what it is, it then makes it easier for us to identify what we can do going forward. And so rather than just resigning yourself into that situation, that adversity, accepting this has happened, it's a fact of life, that things happen, good things bad things happen to good people. That is part and parcel of life. But accepting that is the course of action, that is what has happened. But even though you accept it, it doesn't mean that you have to resign yourself to that situation or to stay stuck in what has happened. And by learning what you can from a setback rather than resisting them. And so how many of you have been through challenges or adversities in the past? And just type yes in the comments if you've been through difficult situations, you've experienced failure in the past, and you are here today to tell the tale. And what can you learn from those setbacks? What can you learn? What are the lessons that you can take from what you've been through previously that you can apply to whatever it is that you're going through at the moment? And by recognizing that in adversity, that there are lessons that we can learn to help us to get through other situations. And not only that, your experience of getting through adversity can encourage and help other people as well. So it's by you sharing how you've got through a difficult situation, you can encourage and help somebody else as well. And the next thing to talk about is curiosity, and how allowing curiosity or allowing yourself to be curious about possibilities can open up avenues for growth and learning, and how it can help you to develop a more optimistic outlook, because curiosity is a catalyst for motivation. And as I've said, it can open up new growth avenues, new learning, new opportunities. So I want you to think about a current situation that you may be going through, or a future challenge or setback that you are envisioning happening very soon. And I want you to think about that situation that you're going through, and what is it about this particular change that makes you anxious or afraid, and what is it that you could lose? And I just want you to have a couple of minutes thinking about that. What is it about this change or the situation or the setback that you've faced, and what is it that you can lose? So it could be that your organization is going through a restructure and there's a threat of redundancies. So it could be that, you know, you're worrying about losing your job. And if you want to share anything in the comments, then please do so. So thinking about that situation, and when you're thinking about and focusing on what it is that you're going to lose, what the setback is, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel anxious? Does it make you feel worried? Are you worrying even more about the worst possible outcome? Now, I had a client whose organization was going through a big restructure. She was a team leader. They were reducing the number of leaders from 5 to 2, which meant that everyone would have had to reapply for their roles. When she came to coaching, she was anxious, she was stressed, she was having sleepless nights, her skin was coming out in blotches, her scalp was dry and flaky. Those were the physiological symptoms of the stress that she was under. And when I sort of explored with her what was going on for her and what her concerns were, she was worried that she was going to end up homeless. Now, I could see that that was a very irrational way of thinking because she'd never been homeless before. And so I asked her, I said, okay, then, so what makes you think that you're going to be homeless? And she said, well, I'm going to be unsuccessful at the interview. I'm going to lose my job. If I lose my job, I won't be able to pay my mortgage. If I can't pay my mortgage, then my house will be repossessed and I will end up homeless. And so by her thinking in that way, she had a very closed mindset, a very closed way of looking at her situation. And she was just ruminating in her situation and unable to see a way forward. So as I said, this exercise for you is to think about your current situation and or any future changes or setbacks that you are encountering or sort of envisioning, and what is it about it that you could lose? What is it that you're facing that you could lose? What do you stand to lose? And then having done that, now I want you to think about that same situation, that same setback, that same future setback that you're envisioning. And I want you to think about what is it about that situation that could be something for you to get excited about and to look forward to. What could you gain? What is it about that situation and what is it that you could gain? And just have a think about what are the opportunities, the potential opportunities that could come about from that situation. And so just to help you with thinking about this, looking at the particular client that I mentioned, so she was worrying about losing her home, that she was going to end up homeless, that because her job was going to be made redundant, and because of how she was thinking about it, how she was looking at it, she was anxious, she was stressed, she was having sleepless nights, etc. But when I asked her the question, I said to her, okay, so what would happen if you were unsuccessful at the job and you lost your job? And so we've got a comment here. I've been in situations like that before, where I've been made redundant and I realized it wasn't as bad as I had thought it would be. Thank you for sharing that. So yes, with this particular client, when I asked her that question and she thought about it and she said, well, I've got years of experience, I've got lots of skills, so I guess I could get another job. And so I said, okay, just supposing it took you a while to get another job, what could you do? And again, she reflected and she thought about it. And she said, well, I guess I could rent out a spare bedroom. I don't really want to have to do that, but I guess if push comes to shove, I could rent out a spare bedroom, which would enable me to still have some income until I get a job, which means I could still pay my mortgage or pay something towards my mortgage. And with that realization, it just changed things there. It was like a light bulb went off for her and she realized that she was going to be okay, that if the worst was to happen, she had options. There were options open to her, which meant she would be okay. And as a result of that, she felt so much more calm. She felt so much more at peace. She went into the interview and she was successful. And she came back to me afterwards and she said, Carol, she said, people kept saying to me, oh, you're really good at what you do. You're going to nail it. You've got nothing to worry about. But she said that just made her feel worse. And she asked me why that was. And I said, it was because you didn't believe it. Until you believed that you were going to be okay, you didn't feel that you were going to be okay. But once you recognized that you had options and that no matter what, you were going to be okay, that was when you felt okay. That was when you were open to seeing possibilities, to seeing what the future could be. And that is often what happens to us when we're in a situation where we've had a failure, where we've had a setback. We allow ourselves to stay stuck in it, and we worry and we ruminate over it. We imagine the worst possible outcome, which doesn't help us to see what possibilities are out there. But allowing ourselves to be curious about it enables us to start to explore, well, what could I do differently? What can I learn from this? What could be out there for me? And I have a friend who does a lot of, she's a psychologist who does a lot of work around resilience, called Dr. Angela Smith. And she, in her workshops around resilience, I don't know if she still does this now, I've not seen her for a long time, but one of the things that she would do is she would have a vase and she would smash the vase, and she would liken that to us when we're going through an adverse situation. And what she talks about is that some people would put the vase under the carpet as if to just brush it away and just act as if nothing had happened, but the broken pieces are still there. Some of this don't even face it. Or some people, what they do is they take the broken pieces of the vase and they look at it and they stick them together and create something different. But they've created something different, but it is still beautiful nonetheless. And that is like us when we go through adverse situations, when we face knockbacks and setbacks. It may knock us off path from the direction in which we want to go. You may have sort of had your dreams and your goals, and then something's happened which has thrown you off course. However, you can pick yourself back up and you can create something beautiful from that situation. It may be different to what you initially envisaged, but it's something beautiful nonetheless, and you can continue to move forward. So by adapting that sort of attitude, that accepting that this has happened to me and not just trying to brush it off or ignore it or sweep it under the carpet, but being curious, developing curiosity, developing optimism about your situation, and looking at, well, what could happen as a result of this? So with regards to the question that I asked you about your situation and anything that you may be going through, and what could be the possibilities that could come out of that, what are the things that could arise? So, and ask yourself, well, what could happen as a result of me going through this? What could happen as a result of this failure? I want to share an experience, something that happened to me probably about 6 years ago. And I had been asked by this organization that provides workshops and webinars to corporate organizations to deliver a webinar for them. And I'd sort of prepared the slides, we'd agreed a date, and then they turned around, they asked me to sort of deliver it to the founders of this particular organization and their team. And then they turned around and they said that they didn't want me to do it. I was devastated because I'd sort of really, this was in the early days of my business, and I'd really set my heart on getting this particular piece of work. And yes, it felt like a failure to me. I felt knocked back by it. And, I did sort of worry and ruminate about it for a while, but because of how I'm my self-awareness and the work that I do on my development and working with coaches, etc., I was able to recognize that, yes, this was a setback. However, it didn't have to be the end. It didn't mean that I wasn't good enough. And so what I did was I just continued to move forward, continued to do the work that I was doing, building up my reputation, building up my credibility for my work. And then a few months later, I was approached by an organization to deliver a series of monthly webinars for a year for their organization. And it turned out that this organization was actually one of the clients for the training organization that had rejected me. And I just thought to myself, well, look at that. I allowed myself to be curious about new avenues for growth and learning and to continue to move forward. And a few months later, I was offered this big piece of work, which was much bigger than I'd worked for this other organization, because I would have been working under their banner, under their umbrella, whereas this particular company had approached me directly, which meant that they were working with me because they liked me. And that went on. Not only did I do those monthly webinars for them, I went on to do quarterly workshops for them as well. So that adversity, that setback, that failure turned into something beautiful for me, something which I probably would not have dreamed about could have happened back then. But if I'd allowed myself to stay in that situation, I probably would have, I don't know, maybe gone back and got a job and thought, oh, I'm not good at doing this, and not have got that opportunity. So what are the opportunities that can open up for you? What can you learn from previous setbacks? And we've got a comment here, wake up with gratitude. And yes, gratitude is something which is very powerful when we are going through adversity, is to look at the things that we have in our lives that we are grateful for. And it's something which has been proven through positive psychology. If you're somebody who is has a particular religious belief or faith, it's talked about in the Bible. I'm a Christian. It talks about gratitude and how being grateful is something that, if by exercising it, it helps us to appreciate life better. And like I said, positive psychology does actually prove that this is beneficial to our well-being as well. And so even if it's just like each morning, just waking up and just looking at what you have to be grateful for, and not just looking at what you've got to be grateful for, but also looking at what this brings you as a result of having it in your life. So it could be that you're grateful that you've got a family, because that your family helps you to feel loved and supported and encouraged. So whatever it is, it doesn't have to be something ginormous. It can be just the little things, because sometimes when we're going through adversity, we don't necessarily see those little things that we have, that we can appreciate and that we can be grateful for. So expressing gratitude, being curious about what next, and learning from previous setbacks, because I'm sure all of you have been through adversity in the past. I'm sure all of you have received knockbacks in the past, and I'm sure all of you have received setbacks in the past. But you're all here on this live, so you've got through it. It may have been difficult at that time, but you've got through it. What are the lessons that you can learn from that particular situation that can help you now? What was it that helped you to get through that particular situation? Who was it that supported you? Who was it that you turned to? What resources did you put in place? And what can you take from that particular situation and apply it to your situation now? So just to wrap up, we've looked at when you're going through a difficult situation, when you're going through a challenge or a setback or a failure, and not necessarily looking at it as a failure, but looking at it as a lesson to be learned, acknowledging that adversity is a part of life. As I said, bad things happen to good people. It's a fact of life. There's nothing that we can do about it. Certain things are beyond our control, but what we can control is how we get through it, how we respond to those situations. We can either allow that situation just to consume us and to resign ourselves to it, or we can accept, acknowledge, and look at, well, what could we do? What could happen differently? What can we learn? So accepting your situation and allowing yourself to be curious. And so what will you do differently going forward, so that when you experience a setback, when you experience someone telling you no, when you experience oh, this hasn't worked. What will you do differently going forward? And please share in the comments what you would do differently going forward as a result of being on this session today, so that you are able to stay resilient and motivated even in the face of adversity. Please share in the comments. I've got a comment here. Even though you got through the setback and it turned out to be a beautiful opening to something better, does it ever affect your thinking in a negative way? And that's a good question, because yes, it does affect, it did affect my thinking for a time. At that particular time, it did affect how I felt, it affected how I saw myself, it affected my confidence. However, after allowing myself to go through that period of having as I call it, a pity party, allowed myself to experience that, I recognized that I could either stay there and just ruminate and worry, and that wasn't going to get me anywhere. But it was acknowledging it and that helped me to move forward. I've got another comment here. I've been through a number of adversities, losing a job, major car repairs. What keeps me going is being thankful for having good health, loving kids, and a community of faith. Thank you for the reminder of having gratitude. You're welcome. So in closing, setbacks are not the end. Remember, it's not the end, but they're opportunities for growth. They're opportunities for you to create something different or create something new, and for you to look at the possibilities that can arise. So any questions? And you know, if we're not connected here on LinkedIn, do follow me here. I have a newsletter here on LinkedIn called Quietly Visible, which you can subscribe to. I'm also starting a 5-day mind cleanse challenge. It's a free challenge that you can sign up to, where you will get each for 5 days a different challenge will help you to develop the mindset that will enable you to be more resilient going forward, which will help you to develop the mindset to be confident and have that belief in yourself as you're going through different situations. And I will share the link to that after. So thank you for joining, and I will answer any questions that you may have. Let me have a look at the comments. I've got one here. Thank you, Carol. It's been great to hear about my experiences. You're welcome. Self-acceptance and self-healthy love. Feel good right where you are. It's difficult, but possible. Thank you for sharing that. And that is so true. It is possible. And it's about recognizing that. So any questions before I sign off? And like I said, I will share the link. So I will put it on the event, the link to the 5-day mind cleanse. Anybody who wants to take it and do the challenge of just working through those self-limiting beliefs or those obstacles that are getting in the way of you having that mindset that will enable you to move forward. Thank you for that, Hayley. Great live and topic today. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Hayley. Hayley is magnificent. Hayley is the person that has really helped me in my business with all the tech stuff and all the systemizing, because I'm quite a vision person. I like to create, but Hayley is the one that helps me to put things in order and to put the systems that help to support me in my business. So do check Hayley out. So thank you, Hayley, for coming online as well today. Right, thank you, everybody. And if there's no questions, I will come back and look through the comments to see if there's any questions that have come up that I haven't missed. I'll just have a quick look through to see if there's anything that I've missed. I can't see any, but no. Thank you, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye.